documentarian filmmaker Frederick Wiseman, 87 years old, Boston-born director. Very underrated director, and somebody who definitely deserves to be talked about. He was honored last year at the Academy Awards. They gave him a big special showcase, long overdue in my opinion, but very good that he did. We need to cherish him. We need to value him while he is alive, okay? This past weekend, I watched his movie called The Store. And today, actually, I'm watching one of his more recent movies. Came out 2 years ago. It's called In Jackson Heights. He's still making movies. Now, the style of Frederick Wiseman is something totally unique. I'm going to give you the title of a few of his most famous movies, okay? Hospital, Titty Cut Follies, Law and Order, Juvenile Court, Welfare, Zoo, Meat, Domestic Violence, and Domestic Violence 2. Those are his movies. Again, documentarian, very concerned with industry, very concerned with institutions, and makes his movies very uniquely. What he does, his movies are long, first off. They ordinarily run anywhere between 2.5 to 7 or 8 hours, okay? They're very long. And what the style is that Wiseman, finds these places, again, whether it's a zoo, a high school, a boxing gym, a service that helps domestic violence, people that suffer from domestic violence, particularly women. And he works about 4 to 6 weeks in the institution, okay? Very little preparation, goes around basically filming the events that go on there. He's never seen on camera. He doesn't conduct interviews. There's no narration in his films. There's no editing. There's no editing in the conventional sense. There's no time cards. There's no dates. There's no years. There's no names. There's really nothing. It really is what people have called observational cinema or natural cinema, two terms that he vehemently denies, that he disassociates with, says there's no such thing. I initially disagreed with them. I've seen 7 or 8 of his movies. I agree with them. There's no such thing as observational cinema. There really isn't. But this is a man who's incredibly dedicated to his craft, and it's a minimalist craft. If there's such thing as a minimalist documentary, Frederick Wiseman makes it. He has made his best work, I'll tell you right now, is a movie called Titty Cut Follies. It's probably his most famous. It came out in 1967, and it portrays the Bridgewater State Hospital for the Criminally Insane. Again, it's a Massachusetts correctional institution, again, back in the 1960s, that was very, very controversial, aired once on PBS. Never to be aired again. It was aired in the 90s, never to be aired again. The only reason I saw it was because my uncle, who was going out that night, used to videotape a lot of stuff on TV, saw that it was on and said, it looked pretty interesting. He read the TV guide description. He recorded it. It's the only time it aired on TV. You can buy it on DVD, but it's the only time it ever aired on TV. It's an astonishing movie. It shows the way that these inmates were treated. It's how they were forced. These people these inmates that were in this asylum for the criminally insane, how they walked around naked. They had no clothing. They were bullied. They were force fed. And it was a big debacle, too, with the Massachusetts government, who said, when Wiseman made the movie, they said, you can't release it. They said you cannot release this movie. It invades the rights of the patients. Frederick Wiseman got permission from all the legal guardians to film what was going on in that correctional institution. Okay? It wasn't the content. It wasn't the fact that the inmates were being filmed that bothered the Massachusetts government. It was obviously the fact that they didn't want this kind of stuff being seen. Keep in mind, this is 1967. You can argue that mental health isn't as regulated or isn't as up to standards in this country, and you have a very good argument in the present day. Can you imagine, especially if you're young, can you fathom what it was like in 1967? I highly recommend Titty Cut Follies, though. It's only about 84 minutes. I think it's one of the shortest, if not the shortest, Frederick Wiseman movie. But in addition, he makes another movie, another really good one. If you have the time to watch it, I highly recommend you do it. It's a movie called Near Death. 6.5 hours long, focuses on patients on life support. It's incredibly sad, but it is so unbelievably raw, and it needs to be seen. And I could say that about almost every one of the movies by Frederick Wiseman that I've seen. Okay, I watched the movie The Store, like I said 2 nights ago. I watched that movie. That's about the headquarters and this neighboring department store in Dallas. It's a Neiman-Marcus, and they're showing how the different pricing goes on, how sales are made, and stuff like that. And I could talk forever about Frederick Wiseman. I could talk for like 2 hours about Frederick Wiseman and his style. But the thing that makes Frederick Wiseman so incredible is just the way he films. There's no on-camera interviews. There's no title cards. You don't even get days or like years or chronology. You know what I mean? Frederick Wiseman films about 100 hours at all these different places, edits them into a 4 or 5 hour movie, releases it on his website that's named after his wife, is on to the next movie. It's an incredible work ethic. He's still working. He's 87 years old. Good for him. I hope he lives another 87 if it were up to me. He just released the last 4 years, 5 years, he's released 4 movies. 2013, he released a movie called At Berkeley that filmed at Berkeley College. 2014, he released a movie called National Gallery, which was obviously filmed at the National Gallery. In 2015, which I'm watching tomorrow, he released a film called In Jackson Heights, a critically acclaimed documentary about the communities of Jackson Heights and Queens in, of course, New York City. It's, I think, 4 or 5 different languages that movie is in too. And then now he's filming, now he's currently filming, I think it's in the process, just about to be released, Ex Libris, which is the New York Public Library. So as you can see, as he's getting older now, he's very concerned with like institutions, almost like learning institutions. Like when he was a little bit younger, about 30 years ago or so, he was really focused on movies like, he made a movie called Multi-Handicapped, he made a movie called Deaf, made a movie called Blind. He was very focused on disabled people and how they were getting treatment. Now he's looking at like galleries, libraries, schools, colleges, institutions, financial institutions in a way too. Another one of his best movies, if I could recommend you 2 movies right now out of Frederick Wiseman, one of the greatest filmmakers living today, one of the greatest filmmakers ever. If I can recommend 2 films by him right now, I highly recommend the movie Titicut Follies, like I was just mentioning earlier, from 1967, and I highly recommend the film Belfast, Maine from 1999. That's a movie about the small, sleepy town of Belfast, Maine. It's about 4.5 hours long, races past, unbelievably good, sad in a way, poignant, but very uplifting and very, very interesting. I cannot recommend these movies enough. They're really, really interesting, and they deserve to be seen. Talking Frederick Wiseman here briefly. Like I said, you can get a lot of his films online. You can look them up. You can find where to get them and stuff like that. Again, really recommend that you do support Frederick Wiseman. Excellent documentarian. Vital. The film has done so much for film, and I just fear that he doesn't get the credit that he deserves.